Okay, it does say let everyone know that they're being recorded, which I will do. I have done already. I'm just going to keep the chat bar open so I can see it. Good evening, everybody. For those that haven't met me, I'm Andy Calvert, one of the assistant head teachers and responsible for transition at IGS, amongst other things. I'm one of the assistant head teachers. And this evening's event really is just a legacy of lockdown, really, that I always think has worked very well. Rather than trying to get everybody into IGS to give you a presentation like this, the one thing we had to do in lockdown was have online presentations like this. And what's interesting, when we first started this before lockdown, no one knew how to use Teams, and I would imagine that most of you have never used Teams in your life. Certainly I never had. And we were actually using YouTube Live to start with, because Teams was pretty unfunctional, whereas now it's absolutely fantastic that I can sit in my office here and you can sit in the comfort of your own home, and I can give you the details that you need. So I've just got a presentation to run through. What I've tried to do is make these things the sort of frequently asked questions, or things that are asked often for us, and I do everything I can to answer as many questions as I can do this evening. As always, if there are any sort of pertinent questions, please buzz them through to transition@ilkleygs.co.uk. Mrs. Varley and myself answer that transition mailbox. If you have got any Ashland students, they were with us today on their one amazing day. It was really nice to see them. The sun was shining. If you have children from Westville or Moorfield, or where else did we have yesterday? Steeton, Lady Lane, they were with us yesterday, and it was absolutely tipping it down, which is, is the way that the British summertime goes. The one thing I can guarantee every time I do one of these online events is the sun always shines. So it will be shining next Wednesday as well. I'm absolutely confident of that. So what I've tried to do here is I've mirrored the presentation that I actually gave to the children when we went down to the primary schools, just because it gives quite a lot of detail about how the school runs. This one's loosely around curriculum, setup of the school, systems of school, but I have thrown in some of the more pastoral care things as well, because I think it's really important that we try and fill as much of the void as we can, and answer as many questions as we can in this first session. And then if we do need to refine anything for the session next week, we can. Please use the chat bar to answer. If you do want to ask a question, there is time at the end. I'll try and get this bit done in 25 minutes to give us 10 minutes of Q&A at the end. But if you do want to put your hand up, if there's a question you really want to do, then please feel free to. If you could just keep your mics muted and your camera off, just because it helps the bandwidth here. I am at home, and I am, like most of you, just on BT Wi-Fi, not on the school industrial Wi-Fi that we have. So working on it here. So one of the questions I asked the children, and I'm not sure if you have worked this out, but they're called the purple ties, because they will get the purple tie. When you do go to one of our uniform suppliers, they will present you with their purple tie, and currently that's year 11 who have just finished their exams today. The last one was today, so we're in full flow with our new purple ties, some of which we saw today, which was absolutely lovely to see Ashland's with us. I think I went through this, those who were at the presentation in April, and we've completed all the road shows now. The data collection is completed, and we're already compiling the tutor groups. I'll talk a little bit more about that shortly. And then what we are starting over the next week and a half, sorry, two and a half weeks actually, is what we're calling One Amazing Day. The opportunity for the children to come up and sample some IGS lessons. Yesterday's group walked away with a couple of scones that they'd made in a food technology lesson. Today's group walked away having a really great science lesson and some drama, English, maths. It just depends what space we've got. There's none of the 2 days are the same. We're using the staff that have been released from the year 11 lessons, but I hope if you have spoken to them, they've had a really good day. And certainly when I touch base with them at lunchtime, they seem to be great. So just that's what's happening now. We've obviously got the online sessions, which we're doing now, not on YouTube Live. We're using Teams this year because it's so much easier. Most people have Teams and not YouTube Live. And then just one for your diary, please, the welcome day on the 13th of July. That's the day that your son or daughter will meet their tutor group, everyone that's in their tutor group. I'll talk a little bit more about how we organise that shortly, and their tutor as long as they're available. Again, we're building that team. We have got 4 new members of staff joining us, so they may not be available on that evening. If they're not available on that day and evening because they've got a job at another school as such, then we'll make sure that there's someone in place that can answer any questions that you may have on that evening. Welcome evening, your opportunity yourself to meet the tutor, should they be available, and also see the wider leadership team, mainly led by the head teacher, Mrs. Pennell, and the deputy head teachers, who will just run through probably some of the things I've spoken about here, but just it's useful to you start putting names to faces for the leadership team and the tutor team. Then we've got the next day on the 14th of July, there's a transition sports day, a day where all the students come down to our field on the A65, and they have a sports day with what we call our sports eye leaders, and they have a day of sport with us. It's a good time for them to start meeting then again the day after they first met their tutor group. They meet them again and spend another day with them. And then there's the induction day in September, and on the first day that they're with us, it's just year 7 on site, and they'll have 3 or 4 team building sessions with their tutor, and then get themselves into a couple of lessons in the afternoon. The very next day, all of the other year groups join us, and it gets a little bit busier in school. Just to help with that team building, they go on this, we will get a letter out to you on the first day, but they go to Nell Bank for a visit for a day in the second week that they're with us, again to help to build that team ethos within their tutor group. Okay. You will see across the school the values, and we've challenged the students to find their 6th value right down the middle there. As I said, at the primary schools, lots of students already have those in abundance. What we're trying to do is refine those skills and giving them opportunities to have a go and get even better at them. And then the personal development strand across the school, and that's what's actually holding this session together, because it gives you a really good insight about how the school works. There's 8 strands within there, and I'm just going to run through those now because it really helps to frame how the school operates, and it's just a nice way. This is exactly this is a more adult version of the presentation that I give at the primary school. Okay, so the first one is scholarship and curiosity, and I just want to say at this stage, like all the primary schools that we visit, we have a incredibly skilled team of staff, and we just have a lot more than the primary school. I think if you count all the staff that are on site, I think we're up about 220 staff. We've got something like 18 English teachers, for example, because when you've got a school the size of ours with 2,100 children on site, there's obviously a lot of lessons going on at any one time. But I do want, I said to the students that the staff, like most teachers I ever meet really, have got their children's welfare and their learning and love of their subject at heart, and really try and get that across to them. And it is important that those staff are available for you to talk to as well. They're not quite as available as they are in a primary school, but staff do have emails and are open to be contacted. If you prefer to do that through the year head of year, again, that's okay. But the staff are there to support everybody in their learning. I mean, that's the key, the key purpose of the school really is to make sure that the students get really good at learning. We have to on a Wednesday morning, we have something called personal best time that basically allows the students to become a more effective learner. We're an iPad school. I'm pretty certain most of you are aware of that, and thank you to you all if you have signed up for the scheme. If you haven't done that, please can you do that as a matter of urgency? It is important in order for us to procure the iPads if you're using one of ours, or make sure that everyone's aware you can bring your own device, and that's absolutely fine as well. There's just a few bits of paperwork that we need to do to ensure that that device is okay on our Wi-Fi. We run a 2-week timetable. IGS, there's an A week and a B week, and that's in order to make sure that we've got capacity in the timetable to do all of the lessons that we need to do. So the one thing that is useful at home is to help to remember whether it's week A or week B. If there is a holiday, if it's A, then B, and then there's a holiday, we start on A again. But it does take a little bit of getting used to, because on no primaries work on a 2-week timetable as far as I've ever come across anyway. So please just get used to it. And if you're not sure, it is on the Outlook calendar that will be on the iPad once they get that up and running. We really want to build on all the amazing work that's gone on at primary school. So that love of learning, a love of reading. The one way that we do that with the love of reading is the tutor will actually read to the children. So every morning, they'll work with the students every morning. Most of the Year 7 tutor groups at the minute are reading I Am Malala, about Malala Yousafzai, and they've read a few other books, The Boy at the Back of the Class, and War Horse they've read this year. And I know some students will have read that, and they go on a rotation basis, but it's really to keep that love of learning going, love of learning and reading going, that most students have got at primary school, and really build on those skills that we've got. There are 11 tutor groups. They are mixed ability, so there's approximately 28 students in each group. I've got to balance those, and that's what the data collection is for. What we do say is that everyone, where possible, will know someone who they are friendly with, and we're working with the primary schools to make that happen. We're aware that some people get on really well. We're also aware of some people that don't get on really well. So what we need to do is make sure that we're preserving those good friendships, but also I have to build 11 new teams out of the 323 children that are joining us in September, and the data team are working quickly on that right now. You were asked if some of the tutor groups are what we call French tutor groups, and some are Spanish, and that's to do with the modern language that they will learn in Year 7 and 8. It's random for most people, unless you have a really good reason why you need your child to learn French or Spanish. Please, if that's the case, you must let us know very, very soon. In fact, by the end of the week, please, because that's an important thing with regards to the tutor groups that we need to build. And that's why I can't guarantee that any child is with another child, because, for example, two families may say our children get on really, really well, but one wants Spanish and one wants French, and I can't manage that. So there's always situations where we try to, but with a really good record of building 11 tutor groups. And what I said to the young people when I met them is, look at it as an opportunity. Even if you're coming from one of the big primary schools, such as Ashlands, there's 52 coming up from Ashlands, but that still means there's 250 people that you don't know. So please get to know all of those new people in your tutor group, and the team building exercises that we do helps to build that up. The lessons are taught in tutor group, and that helps with organisation and team building. So the tutor group move from lesson to lesson. They go to English together, they go to geography together, they go to science together, and so on. And in Year 7, everything's taught in tutor group, with the exception of maths, which we do start to stream them in maths in the autumn term. The maths team will just make a decision on that. They all do the same work. They're just, some of them work a little bit quicker and then a little bit slower, depending on their sort of ability in maths as such. The good thing about the maths team is it's under constant review, that and the maths team are really good at moving people into the group that they need to be able to flourish in their maths ability. Okay. Next slide. The one that's, I suppose, more in my area, actually, because I'm the designated safeguarding lead at school as well. But we have a big safeguarding team. Just appointed 2 new safeguarding officers, to experienced members of staff, to help me with safeguarding, because again, safeguarding 2,100 children with 2,100 families is a significant job. But what I want to say at this stage, as I said on the evening, you have our unconditional and without judgment support. If there is anything that you need to know, then all you need to do is contact the head of year or the safeguarding team, and we will do everything we can to help in any situation. Please don't sit on things. Don't think that we would make things worse. Don't think we would judge people in any way, because that's not the way we work. We're here to help. We will always help. And if we don't know the answer, which would be a rare situation, then we do know where to go to get the help and support that you all need. The head of year, this is an interesting thing. Mrs. McManus has actually been successful, and she's one of the safeguarding officers now. So I'm in the process of appointing a new head of year 7. So I actually don't know who the head of year 7 is yet, because they're not appointed, but it will be someone that's new to school or moving across from another role within school. And they'll be part of the support team. And also online, what we've got here is Mrs. Varley, who's a student support and transition manager. And I've also got another colleague who works in the leadership team, Mr. Carr, who's on here, and he'll just be working with year 6 and 7 in the transition element, and be working as what's called an associate assistant head, and he'll be working with the head of year to be able to say, he's just saying hi to everybody online there. I can see that on the chat. We make no distinction between physical and mental health in school. So we have most of the staff are mental health first aiders. We have a counselling team, and we also have what we call the hub, which is the area that the students can go to for any help. I suppose from a primary school situation, it's like the front office as such, but we break it up into key stages. So there's plenty of space, and actually the year 7 office is an office just for year 7, where the head of year 7 and Mrs. Farley will be, and so the students can get ready access to the help and support that they need. Just a few other things that we do. We really want the students to have lots of opportunities to be amazing citizens, not just in school, but in a wider context, really, in and out of school. And it always amazes me how involved Ilkley Grammar School students are. We raise a huge amount of money for charity. Teamwork is a big part of what we do, and those long-lasting friendships that are forged in things when you're working through things like that are something that we work very hard at. They will have citizenship lessons, and I suppose that's more delivered by the tutor, and it's within PBT, which is that extra lesson that we have on a Wednesday, because the Wednesdays are are one lesson shorter. So the students have 6 lessons on a Monday, Tuesday, Thursday and Friday, and just 5 lessons on a Wednesday, with an additional PBT session that's about a half an hour. Year 9 this morning, we're doing a fantastic arrangement of enrichment activities, but we use it for those softer skills, if you like, that students need to have as a develop as a person. It's that opportunity for discussion and challenge of things that are happening in school. It's where we also get the the year 12 eye leaders in to help the year 7, so they can see those older students as role models as well. It's a really important facet of the school that we work very hard on, and the whole personal development strand is delivered not just through PBT, but throughout PBT and in the wider classroom environment as well, to give those children, give everybody the opportunity to practice all of these personal development strands, but also the school values as well. I think it's a marvelous thing that students get an opportunity to sample things outside the classroom, really, the things that you can't teach within curriculum time. And the only thing that is different is the students finish this. The start of the day each day is they need to be in their tutor group by 8:25 for an 8:30 start as such, and they finish every day apart from Wednesday at 3 o'clock. On a Wednesday they finish at 2:30. We as a school, we use that extra time for staff development. So we've all been in just today, we've all been in staff development today. Okay. We do want the students to be leaders. The students will meet the sports leaders on the sports day, and you'll see that it's run by a group of very efficient and sports men and women, and real role models on the sports day went on the 16th of July. The staff will be there as well, but the year 12s and 10s students will be there to really support them and lead those activities. But that iLeader program actually goes through all years, and even year 7 are given an opportunity to practice their leadership skills, and that's done through clubs and activities, but also being able to be part of different groups and influence groups within school. For example, we have our own United Nations group who debate all sorts of things in there. We have a student leadership team, we have year councils, we have, as I said, the sports leaders. There's students that work on the back stages to help present the shows and so on. We have the computer leaders as well, the e-leaders as such, to help them to develop things. And what we want to do is give everybody the opportunity to lead. And some of them are incredibly good at it, building up to whoever would be the head students when they get up into the sixth form. And you can see the pictures of the head students there, who are all influence the way the school operates and present to us as a senior leadership team as well. So we want them to get involved in things like that. Other things to get involved in, extracurricular activities, an enormous amount of sport, creative and cultural teams and clubs. The PE team particularly, the PE team and the creative arts team are a hugely committed bunch of staff who give their time in abundance to run fixtures and training and rehearsals and everything, and some of the quality of what gets delivered. We've been incredibly privileged this year and incredibly successful on the sports field, but also in the cultural area. In the sports field, we've done we've won, I think, 4 Leeds and Yorkshire Cups in football this year, including the girls who won 11-1 in their session. So there's lots of things going on, and there are lots of things to get involved in allied to that as well. So if you're not a person to stand up on stage and sing and do the orchestra, there's lots of things that the students can get involved in, backstages, lighting and so on, sound. And again, we have a really vertical group of people in the orchestra to help and nurture the youngsters when they join. And again, many of them will play musical instruments, and if you are interested in that sort of thing, do get involved. And I said to all of the students when I met them, take the opportunity to try new things. Where they sign up for that at a clubs fair in September, where I suppose if there's lots of tables and there's presentations on what's going on in those different areas and those clubs and what's expected of you, and you can just sign up for them there and then. And some of them at lunchtime, some of them before school, some are after school, and the students can work on those and meet other students outside their own tutor group and so on. And it's a marvelous offer that they've got. One of the things that is always and I really stress this with the young people, is there's always a bit of a fear of bullying being an issue at high school, because they're going from being the biggest to being the smallest. But I want to say here that IGS is a really respectful, equal and diverse society, and we've worked very, very hard. And I said to the students when I met them that there is a place for everybody, irrespective of your background or whoever you are. There's a place for you at IGS. To reinforce that, we have a really robust PSHE curriculum, which includes relationships and sex education, but it also includes really complicated things such as consent, which is high on the agenda at the minute. But they're taught by specialist teachers who can really dig into the queries and questions, because one of the things I do at the primary schools is you can't see me because I'm sat down, but I'm 6'3" tall. So I pick out one of the smaller students and show them that while they're with us at IGS, they could grow and be actually taller than me, because we know as adults that they're going to grow an awful lot from being year 7. So if they leave us in year 11, or if they leave us in year 13, they'll be a completely different size and shape of person than they are now, but they will also develop as a person as well, and they will become, that young adult that is ready to leave school when they do, and you know, we're all aware of what that will look like. There is a really active student anti-bullying group, and I said to the students there that when I met them on there, they mustn't worry about bullying. I took 2 students down with me when I went to the primary school, and they talked at length about if there is any fallouts, if there are anything that we would consider bullying, then it's dealt with really quickly by the head of year, and dealt with really quickly through parents. So there are fallouts, there are things that happen in school. It's always been the case, but we're really good at dealing with it. So just make sure, and if your son or daughter does come home and reports anything like that, please let us know straight away. Don't think that you're causing a problem for us in any way. Just let us know. As soon as we know, we can get dealing with it. There are there's the Nell Bank trip that the students go on, and also the students that are in 7, 8 and 9 currently are looking forward to their challenge and celebration week, which is the last week of term. Year 7 go on some local trips. They go walk the wharf, they go to Flamingo Land, and they do a circus carousel as well down on our field. Year 8 go to London, and Year 9 go up to the Lake District. So there's, you know, it's fever pitch really with them looking forward to those things. There are local trips as well that go on, but we really make sure that it's a real celebration of the year. Further up the school, there's Duke of Edinburgh's a battlefields trip. There are exchange visits as well with Coutances, which is a school in France. As most of you know, Coutances and Ilkley are twin towns. And that exchange visit program is the longest serving exchange visit program of any school in the whole country. I think it's been going on since 1951 off the top of my head. More recently, we've also bonded to a school in Madrid, and the students, we send students over to them to sample French and Spanish culture, and they come over to us. And it's really great when the Coutances or the Madrid children arrive in Ilkley, because it really does, you know, invigorate the school as such to see people from different cultures. So that's great. And then, as all schools do, there's enrichment trips all over the world. I think the highlight this year is the World Challenge group in year 11 and 12, I believe, are heading to Vietnam to build. And they've raised a huge amount of money themselves in order to get onto that World Challenge trip, and they're heading over to Vietnam to, I believe, Matt, is it to build a school or to build something over there to help build a school? So there's lots going on, and again, we're aware of the difficulty with the finances of all the families at the minute. So we do try and put things in place that's affordable to everyone and give you plenty of time to not just have to pay it off in one go. We break things up for everybody where we can, and none of those are compulsory as such. And then the last bit from me here is next steps and careers. Obviously, in year 11 or in year 13, the students leave us, and that we've got to make sure that they've got a place to go to, and they've got a really good place. Most of them stay with us into our post-16. Around 80% stay with us around our post-16 in year 11 and stay with us into year 12 and 13. But students do go off into apprenticeships, into local colleges, into employment. And then the same thing when they leave us in year 13. The students that are behind me there on the picture, they're, you know, we've got an incredible record there today. 12 of them have got offers for Oxbridge there, and many go off to, you know, top universities or into employment. Or the modern thing is actually degree level apprenticeships. And I was talking to 2 students the other day. One of them is heading off to do a degree level apprenticeship and not going to university, heading off to work for a big accountancy firm in Leeds. And another one is heading up to work for British Aerospace up in Barnoldswick, and will be working on the new Eurofighter Typhoon. They're really interested in engineering, and that's a new route that started to appear, obviously with the cost of everything that we all feel at the minute. But again, there's a really big team of staff that make sure, really from year 8 onwards, that we do start to help students think about where next as such and how you're going to get there. So that's an important part of the school and a growth area for us, really. Okay, so that's my rush through of that, I suppose. There will be things that I've missed. I'm assured of that. If anyone wants to put their hand up and ask a question, that's absolutely fine. If you prefer not to do that and put it into the chat bar, please feel free to as well. If you prefer and just think you've got everything that you need from this one, feel free to leave as well. I'll keep talking. I'll probably do 10-15 minutes if everyone can stick it that long. But if you do want to join us next Wednesday, I think it is, for the next one, that one will be a little bit more unscripted. So there'll be lots of questions that you might want to ask there. But please feel free, drop them into the chat bar now. Or if you've got a question and you want to put your hand up, you just need to tell me who you are, and then we can try and answer them as best we can. Okay. I've got one for Mr. Moore here. What, if anything, do we need to do in terms of saying which friends our children would want to be with in class? Mr. Moore, the primary schools are aware of this already. You don't actually need to do anything, if I'm honest. Leave it to the primary schools. If there are things that you think the primary school doesn't know for one reason or another, buzz us an email to the transition mailbox. I can't guarantee we can, I mean, clearly I can't guarantee anything because I've got to make this work for us. But if there are children that you feel will be better, as I said before, I can't guarantee anything because you may want your child to be in Spanish and French, and it might not work for lots of other reasons as well. But if there is something, then leave it to the primary school. If you think the primary school will know who gets on well with your son or daughter, then just leave it with them. If they come from one of the big primary schools, there are children that are the only one that's coming through, so don't worry about it too much. Will you be ordering calculators for everyone else who wants one? Yes, that's done through the maths team, so don't worry about getting one of your own calculator. Although a scientific calculator, we can get them cheaper because we buy them en masse. And they don't use calculators straight away. The maths team get a letter out for that the first week that they arrive with us, and you pay for it on parent pay, which is one thing that probably is worth talking about here. IGS is a cashless system. On the first day that the students come to us, we'll take a photo of their thumb. It's biometric, and we will capture that, and that links to us an account that will send you the details from, and they use that for buying their lunch. You will be getting something soon called a consents booklet. I just need to capture some consents from you, and one of them is the ability to take the biometric test. The other ones are to take photographs and all the routine things that you probably have given consent for at the primary school. It's fairly self-explanatory. Booklet will come out. There's a Microsoft form to fill in. 99% of people just say it's fine for all of those things. If you don't want to give consent, that's absolutely fine too. Just click no on the thing, and we'll make sure that if there are photographs or publicity material, for example, we'll make sure that your child's not involved in those photographs and so on. And I assure you that that's a robust system. Sign up for clubs in September. Matt's answered that already. Childcare vouchers to pay for any clubs. There's no cost for any of the clubs at our school, so no, you don't have to use your childcare vouchers. They're open to all, and they're free as such. Nearly all the clubs are free, so no childcare vouchers needed. Matt's just answered that one there as well. Homework club. There is a homework club as such. But one of the things I did say to the students about homework, and the deputy head will explain this, Miss Clark will explain this in a little bit more detail. The students think they're going to get absolutely tons of homework because they're at high school. That's not the way things work. We give them homework when it adds the value to their learning. So if a student is on it, then the homework is more than manageable. Okay. When in September for signing up for the clubs? Is that the question that you're asking there, Mrs. Corley Pridmore? Can you just clarify that for us, if that's okay? If parent P is set up during the first day, will lunch need to be taken on their first day? It's not a daft question. Don't worry. even if parent pay is not set up, we won't see anyone go hungry. It's fine. With regards to lunches, it's a good point. You can have school lunches. You can bring your own sandwiches as well. There are sandwich rooms for year 7. You can mix and match, so you can send them in for school lunch on a Monday, sandwiches on a Tuesday. It's fine. Don't worry about the first day setup. We will not see any child ever go hungry at school. And even if you run into a slight deficit with your parent pay, we'll still make sure that we feed them. We never see anybody get go hungry. Are there any breakfast and after school clubs? There's no, there is a small breakfast club for students that have free school meals. It's a very small club by invite only, but there are lots of after school clubs, lots and lots of them. And again, sign up for those. The PE team, the creative arts team release a timetable of when everything's going on, so you can keep involved. So where's the question now? When in September? Matt, can you help me? The club's fair, it's 3rd week normally, isn't it? Club's fair in September. That's normally when I thought it was around September. So it's just to give the staff time to get everything organised, because we need the students going. Do you want to come in, Matt?
Yeah, sorry, it's just
on mute.
The previous question. The club's fair is 2nd or 3rd week probably. Most clubs will be up and running from the 2nd week, because that first week is kind of a part week in and out, students getting to know where they're going and what they're doing. And then the 2nd week running, certainly all the sports clubs will be up and running: football, rugby, netball, hockey, various other clubs, and then all the creative arts ones as well: music, drama, the production, that'll be up and running as well. There's going to be a Grease production in February next year, sorry.
Thanks, Matt. Some questions here about, is it worth going through the lunch system for new parents and what the different years? Yeah, year 7 in B hall, which is the hall that you're all in when you did the presentation with me, and that's where year 7 have their lunch. They also have their break there as well, and that answers the question below from Mrs. Turner. There's no kind of breakfast club as such, an offer like that, but there is a fairly substantial offer at break time. So the students tend to use that for their morning snack as such. I could explain the lunch system to you, but it's basically year 7 for the first few weeks. They come out of their lesson 4 a little bit earlier, because we tend to find they're quite slow. Just to we get them used to the system. They queue up, they go into B hall for their lunch. The offer's pretty wide and varied. There's always something. There's a pasta dish. There's always a kind of main meal. There's free fruit and vegetables as well. And then your usual kind of standard sort of fare. There's paninis, pizza slices and so on. It's very rare for a student not to find something that they can eat there, because there's lots of choice, because we're such a bigger school, there can be lots of choice. And if a student does have an allergy for any reason, it's just popped up there. We should get that detail from the primary school with regards to allergies. But if a child has a really specific and obviously dangerous allergy, please can you let us know as well via the transition at ilkleygs.co.uk mailbox, just to make sure that we've absolutely cross-checked it, because it does rely on the things coming across. And part of the consents booklet and the data collection that we will do with you will double check that with your food allergies as well, and just make sure all the systems join together. But please, just if there is someone that's got a really bad allergy, please let us know. Matt, do you want to say something?
Just on the allergies, that any allergy that's flagged on an individual, when they're served at the counter for break or lunch, it automatically flags their allergies, so the catering staff are aware what they're serving that child, and if it does or doesn't have any of those allergens in.
Yeah, so if you've got a nut allergy, and we're a nut-free school, so that's not a good example. If it's got if the person's got an allergy to kiwi fruit, for example, and any of the things they've got in given, it won't allow us to sell something to them. But with regards to that, it's just a belt and braces job. It should come through nicely. If they've got a significant one with an EpiPen or something like that, please do let us know if you can. That's really helpful to us. For the July date of the tutor groups, do they need to wear their Ilkley school uniform? No, that's the last time that they'll be together with their primary school uniform. It's a multicoloured day, as you can imagine, 320 children from 18 different primary school, and they're all in different colours. They wear their Ilkley Grammar School uniform on their first day in September. That's one of the stories we tell them. We take a photograph of them when they're all in their different colours and show it them on their first day with us when they're all dressed in their black blazers and looking so smart. Okay, when will we get information about uniform? All the information about uniform is already on the website, Mrs. Kinton. We've got 2 uniform suppliers. One of them's called Wharfdale Uniforms. It's at the bottom of Cowpasture Road. And the other one is Dobson and Robinson, which is on the Grove. If you go in and speak to them, they'll be able to kit you out with everything that you need. They will be, both uniform providers will be there on the welcome evening as well, and you'll be able to have a conversation with them about the things that you have to have and the things that you might choose to have. We've really tried to keep the uniform as cost effective as possible. For example, this year we've slightly changed the PE shirt. They used to have coloured epaulets on them, but we've removed those for this year because the cost just comes down. It's only 50 pence or whatever, but we just felt that everything we can do to reduce the cost of a uniform. I mean, I have a young boy myself. I know how much uniform costs and how you've got to get quite a lot of stuff when they move school. So either go down yourself or wait for the welcome evening. There's plenty of time to get it, and they have lots and lots of stock. Are they allowed off site in year 7? Absolutely not. Not even year 11 are allowed off site, Miss Reeves. Not at all. No, no students in lower school are allowed off site. The sixth formers in year upper 6, so those in year 13, they do come and go, but they are almost 18. So, but no children allowed off site at all. Never would be. Okay. What I'm pleased to see is you're all no one's had the put their hand up. Actually, everyone's using the chat bar, which is an interesting thing. So, any other questions? Protocol for phones. Good question. Right. Okay. Here's the protocol for phones. Phones are really important for young people when they're getting themselves, particularly in the dark nights come, and we recognise that most children do carry a mobile phone. But so again, some don't, but in my experience, a lot do now, and it's a good way of you communicating with them. So the protocol is this: they're allowed to use them at break and lunchtime. They're not allowed to use them in lessons. They've got to be silent or switched off. They're not allowed to use them in corridors. If they are seen with them out at any of those times, then we take them off them. If they do that more than once, then they're banned from having a phone in school, and it has to come in and stay in a school safe and then gets given back to them at 3 o'clock, which is something most kids want to avoid. So, and do that. It's something that smartwatches are fine. It's a good question. Smartwatches are fine, and that's okay. But again, you can't be using them to communicate with others. So it's a system that we modelled up with the student leadership team, and there are schools that completely ban them. What you see most of the time is at break time, the children just quickly check their phone, pop it back in the bag, and carry on and chat away with other people around them. So I do think it's a really nice balance, but certainly it doesn't wash with us if they say, "Oh, I was just checking my checking the time as such on my phone." If they're seen with the phone out in a lesson, definitely, but even in the corridors and when they're walking around school, at any other time other than break and lunch, then there's a pretty robust system to deal with them. How do you apply for a bus pass? That's on the website as well, Mr. Curtin. If you go onto there, it's through Metro, and if you actually go onto there, it does depend where you live, but go through Metro and fill in the form, and the smart card should arrive to your house. There is a reduced fare pass for Northern Rail as well. So please make sure that you get in contact with them. What restrictions are on the iPads? Will my child use it, saying that they are working and watching YouTube videos? They're quite heavily restricted in year 7. So we do remove the App Store from them, and we do remove the chat facility from them as well. There is a bit of a privilege of age thing that goes forward with them. They are filtered and monitored even when they're at your house as well. And they're monitored for certain key websites, for example. So if they do try and access something that they shouldn't access, then it alerts me as safeguarding lead that they've tried to do that. So although I'm not watching over their shoulder, there is a system to try and support at home as well. That said, what I can't do is reinforce everything that happens, because you're saying there your child's watching YouTube. Other parents may want them to be able to do that. So what I would say is we have a really good conversation with them about using it as a learning device. And although YouTube, as to my own detriment, I know children go through in a bit of a black hole down YouTube as well. YouTube's actually got some really great educational things on there. And what we can do all the time is, if you work with us and we can monitor, it's becoming a bit out of hand, work with the head of year, and we can put further restrictions on the iPad. What I would encourage them to do is, and what we've always tried to encourage them to do at school, is it's a learning device, and try and use it for their learning. It is something that they have to get used to, and it's something that we work really hard to work in partnership with parents to make sure that although, I mean, the way I look at it, some parents want me to keep their nose out of what their child's doing at home, and other parents want me to be the chief prosecutor as such, and the best place is somewhere in the middle of both of those, obviously. I am working with them all the time to try and get things better, but I think you'll be pleasantly surprised that the iPad is something that we work really hard to make sure that they have access to the learning of it, and it's not used as much for a thing. But what I would say is, if they are using YouTube, then you can use your own restrictions at home as well on your own Wi-Fi to stop them from doing that. Okay, I hope that answers the question. Will all work be done on iPads? Definitely not. No, I mean, we'd use pens and paper as well. We don't have many laptops in school anymore, but there are in the computer rooms. There's a lot of desktops we use. We have a whole Mac suite that they use as well. So they tend to use their iPad for the work that gets flowed through to them in classrooms, but they will use desktops. And also we try and avoid having to get them to type lengthy bits of work on there as well. And we do use pens and paper as well. I think more than most people think they do. The iPad is there as a support device rather than actually getting all of the work done. And I hope that answers your question, Mr. Moore. Well, you've got lots of questions. Okay, Liz, we've run out a little bit there of steam. So what I suggest we do is, please save up your questions. I'll come up and do a bit more of a kind of unscripted thing next week. It probably be shorter than what I've just done there. But if you have got any questions, please feel free to email them through to us at transition@ilkgs.co.uk. And Mrs. Varley and I will pick them up, or save them for next week, and we'll come on next week, and I'll do everything I can to answer anything else you've got. Is that okay? I'm just conscious I've gone on for an hour there, well, nearly an hour. So is that okay if we call it an evening there? I hope that's been useful to you. Nothing is a daft question as it came up there. It's an important time for you all, and I want to try and keep you as well informed as I can. Okay. Okay, you're all very welcome. I'm going to stop the recording now.